U.S. Cattlemen's Association is applauding an SEC protection bill. More than 100 House members introduced the Protect America's Farmers from the SEC Act in an effort to shield producers from the climate disclosure rule. Cattle feeder Rene Crispin joins us now with the latest. Thank you so much for being here. So just give us a little background on this legislation.
Yes, ma'am, and thank you for having me. And earlier this spring, I became aware of this SEC proposal that requires us for disclosure of what we call Scope 3 emissions downstream. And that would mean any of the beef cattle that we raise, finish in commercial feed yards, the grains that farmers produce, that we would have to report all greenhouse gas emissions, not just methane, but all greenhouse gas emissions that we would have to report this, that anything that winds up in a publicly traded company's hands. So immediately I contacted our U.S. Cattlemen's lobbyist in Washington, D.C. I also contacted my Oklahoma Farmers Union. They made my congressman, the author of the bill, Congressman Frank Lucas, and he has, as you said, authored a bill called Protect Farmers from the SEC Act. And what this would do is exempt all agriculture from any greenhouse gas emissions reporting to the SEC specifically. I need to emphasize that.
And why, and speak to why this is so important to shield producers from the climate disclosure rule.
Well, as I said, my wife and I have a stocker background in operation, and we finish all those cattle in a commercial feed yard here in Oklahoma. We purchase these calves from ranches and auction markets in Texas, Florida, South Dakota. Many of these cattle are bought, singles, few at a time. And so you can imagine the amount of paperwork as we try to track these individual calves downstream back to their original owner. And so the mountain of paperwork that this would produce would just be astronomical. That's the first thing. Second, it's not financially feasible for those smaller producers to keep track of all that, to have the equipment to test and measure our greenhouse gas emissions. And then think about this, the tentacles downstream as far as from our operation, us being a middleman, how it would filter down to all of the things such as our feed stuff, things that lose their identity, our animal health supplies, the transportation, anything that goods and services that we use here, we have to have downstream emissions reporting from those individuals and then pass it on up the line. So the enactment of this is just going to eliminate countless numbers of small and independent producers myself, which therefore we believe would jeopardize our national food security and also damage rural communities.
Yeah, a lot on the line with this. And of course, we're going to be keeping our eyes on it. Thank you so much for your time and your input. That's Mr. Crispin with the U.S. Cattlemen's Association. Again, thank you for calling in.